Oh, you didn't know?
Dun, dun.
Well, now you do, because we're here discussing WWE 2K25. My name is Chris, the Mouth of the South Scullion, by which I mean South Lanarkshire. You know I'm actually from North. And I'm accompanied by Jordan, the Animal Middler. Jordan, how are you?
I'm Double J, single M, Jordan James Midler. I've actually just revived a claim. It's pretty good. Yeah, I'm good, man. I've got a lot of thoughts. I spent a hell of a lot of time yesterday battling other superstars and battling 2K's servers, as I'm sure a lot of other people did.
Absolutely. We're going to discuss this game at some length. If you are watching this on YouTube, this video will only last about 10 minutes. If you come to patreon.com/videogameschronicle, you'll get an extended chat about all the modes, all the good and bad that we've discovered so far in the game. So get your mosey on down there to patreon.com/videogameschronicle for the full whack.
To the SmackDown Hotel, not the website, the SmackDown Hotel.
which is we've got no issue with them. They're a fine
they're
receptacle.
very useful. Yeah, they've got a useful history of rosters over there.
Exactly, but for the purposes of this, let's just keep it VGC. Thanks very much. Yeah, where do you want to begin? Do you want to begin with Showcase? Because that's the kind of...
Yeah, we'll kick off with the Wise Man's Tour de Force and Showcase.
So Showcase is the Bloodline is the theme this time out. The Showcase is themed every year. Like one year it was Rey Mysterio for some reason, and so now they've decided that this time it's the Bloodline Dynasty.
So there was never a year to do it. Like, I mean,
it's last year.
I was about to say it's very 2K for this. They almost kind of acknowledge it because the opening to this is you play like a very truncated version of Cody finishing the story, and it ends with Roman being like, "If you thought that was the end of the bloodline, sucker, I don't think so, Jack." And it's very 2K to be like, "Yeah, we are late on this. We are late on absolutely everything. Here is the bloodline," and it's a weird.
He's like, if you thought that was the end of the bloodline, it wasn't. It was the first Raw on Netflix. Sorry, only going.
It's a weird mix because it cuts between talking head interviews with the bloodline that are like out of character. Like they're calling Yokozuna Rodney, which is just insulting.
Rodney was a very unique talent. I think the way he was able to handle all the pressure, it was kind of parallel to how he was in the ring.
And then obviously the wise man Paul Heyman links it all together with like getting the promos of his life, and it's weird because it feels like, did they only get Roman and Solo for sit down interviews? Because I didn't really see anyone else apart from that.
I get the feeling there was one more near the end. One of the Usos maybe appears near the end, probably Jay, to talk about Rikishi, I think. But otherwise, yeah, it's like it's odd. You wonder how long those sit downs were because they've used very little of them. And you're right, it's odd because Heyman is like chewing every bit of scenery he can find.
Yeah.
Like ripping the wallpaper off the wall and jamming it in his mouth.
Now you get to possess the power of the mighty Yokozuna and deal out punishment.
And then it cuts to like Roman Reigns going, yeah, Rodney was a good guy. It's
we used to watch the WWF in the den, when Rodney would come on the screen, it's like, he's Yokozuna, he's from Japan. Respect Mr. Fuji here.
Even further down the line, they when they're talking about 3-minute warning, have a match.
Yeah.
And at one point he says, "Oh yeah," and even Heyman like slightly breaks kayfabe at one point. It was that 3-minute warning featuring Roman Reigns' brother Rosie, which was I maintain is the worst name for a wrestler ever. And Jamal, who would eventually become Umaga.
Oh, you've just played that? No, you play as. You play as
Umaga first. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, yeah.
Then there's a few matches. Then he turns up again as like that's Umaga, and Heyman's like, "Aye, it is."
Yeah. Here he has the 3-minute warning before Armando Alejandro Estrada turned him into a savage. How do you feel about the showcase matches as a concept? Because I think that the change from it all being like real footage is a good one, and I also think they've seriously truncated it. Like some of these matches, if you know what you're doing, you're absolutely flying through them.
Yeah.
To me, it's a vehicle for unlocking stuff, only a small amount of which I actually cared about. Like I liked having a 2007 Cena, I liked having New Year's Revolution, stuff like that. But it's apart from the Heyman stuff, it's probably one of the more skippable of that they've done.
Yeah, I also don't think it helps that the theme is a family that have been kind of very similar over the years. It's like
Yeah.
the gimmick for a lot of them is they're Pacific Islanders, and it's
Yeah.
like obviously because that's their heritage, they're Samoan and all this kind of stuff. But
Many
it's like
Samoan drops can you do, really?
exactly. So it's like when you've got Umaga and the Head Shrinkers, and I'm just going through the list here, and the Islanders and the Wild Samoans. It's like
And the High Chief Peter Maivia.
exactly, and it all starts to kind of merge together a bit and feel like quite similar. But you're right, a lot of it feels like an attempt just to shoehorn in as many unlockables that they're like where these don't fit anywhere else, especially when it's stuff like when they've got these fantasy matches now, so they're not all even recreations. They're like, how do we get George the Animal Steel into this game? Let's put him up against High Chief Peter Maivia, even though they never fought each other in real life, just because everyone's dying to see that match. Everyone's desperate to see 3-minute warning versus AOP. So that's how we get Paul Ellering in there.
That was the most absurd one, because they obviously, when they're showing historical footage, they go mental with the Gaussian blur tool. Like, if you're not a licensed character, even in some cases, if you are a licensed character, they had old footage of Charles Robinson that they blurred for whatever reason, even though he's in the game. They blur you, so when it gets to 3-minute warning, there's a weird middle period in the mid 2000s for the WWE where they don't have the rights to so many people that were on those Raws and SmackDowns, because they just never ended up going anywhere. Just random jobber tag teams. And obviously 3-minute warning, they don't have they have Billy Gunn, but they don't have Chuck Palumbo, so we're not getting a Billy and Chuck match. So they just go, Paul Heyman goes, we thought of a tag team with a similar composition. Authors of Pain, managed by the great Paul Ellering. And it's like, they've just been sacked, mate. They can't be that good. Yeah, that stuff's kind of strange. I think some of them really got my goat. There is a moment where you have to try and win the Money in the Bank as Tamina, and it is the hardest thing I've ever done in video games. Not only are Money in the Bank matches difficult to pull off at all, but Tamina's low rated. The AI was going absolutely off its nut, and there's a new mechanic for pulling down the briefcase. So that was like, and obviously there's objectives throughout the match. So at one point it's like you've got 15 seconds to do this amount of damage to Natalya. Natalya's running away from me, so I'm sprinting after her with Tamina, and that stuff's frustrating. And if you don't complete them all, you don't unlock everything, and you don't get the trophy at the end of it, I presume. But yeah, I will run through it once. To me, I would have liked to seen a bigger focus on Roman Reigns in the start of his career, but there's two problems with that. You could have him as Liaki in NXT, but then you could probably only set him up with like a Tyler Black style Seth Rollins, which would be cool. I would like that.
Yeah.
But you can't do any Shield stuff because you don't have Moxley.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so much of his history is kind of undoable until they can figure out a way around that, which inevitably would be Moxley coming back to WWE.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever going to happen. So
not well. I think he'll eventually come back when he's like
done.
Kind of Punk's age, and he's just doing 1 or 2 matches. Like they'll have the merchandise run.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see if he comes back and they're like, it's Dean Ambrose.
Get him in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, exactly. The Shield will win the Hall of Fame and stuff like that. But yeah, that means they have to focus really closely on recent stuff, and a lot of that is like they have the Seth Rollins Roman Reigns match from a few years ago where Seth wore the Shield gear, which is cool. But they have a Hell in a Cell, and it's Jimmy and Jey Uso versus the New Day. And let me tell you, Jimmy and Jey Uso, indistinguishable from one another in this era because they both had the same gear on. And there's objectives that are like, as Jey Uso, do this. And I'm like, which one is Jey Uso?
I'm also disappointed they missed the opportunity to include the greatest line in the history of wrestling and didn't do it. It was when Yokozuna fights Hulk Hogan in '93. Although to be fair, it was a different match. But when they spoke about Yokozuna beating Bret Hart at WrestleMania, then Hogan coming out to challenge him, and that had the greatest line in the history of wrestling when Mr. Fuji grabs a mic and calls out Yokozuna and says, "My Yokozuna is your challenge." I won't do the accent, but because he barely did. And it basically says, "My Yokozuna is your challenge." He goes, "Come on, Hogan, come on, you yellow belly." That's always been my favourite line.
Come on, you yellow belly, come on.
But they cut that. They didn't have that bit. But they did have that amazing bit with the cameraman fires fire into Hogan's face. I love that. Yeah, I know. There are some really annoying challenges. The final I won't spoil it, but the final reward for kind of doing the whole Bloodline Dynasty showcase thing is very repetitive.
Yeah.
It's
Is it the same
manageable,
kind of
but
thing that was last year, where it's like
thankfully it's not as bad as that, because that was a Royal Rumble, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's more manageable than that, but it's as lengthy, and it's not massively exciting. But you do get a really cool arena out of it.
All right, okay.
But yeah, it's. But before that, you have to do the Islanders versus the Street Profits, the match everyone
A
wanted.
classic. Do you think this has run its course, this showcase mode? 'Cause